This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, and welcome to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, certified dream life coach, Debbie Spector-Weissman. This is the place where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and discover the truth of who you really are. As regular listeners to this podcast might know, before I became involved in dream work and then started this podcast, I was in the entertainment business in a company with my husband. Around 25 years ago, the business took a turn from doing mostly movie advertising to supervising post-production. Now, those are the various jobs that are done after the initial production work is completed. The movies are mostly independent commercial fare. Nothing much to write home about, but it was interesting work and a nice creative way to make a living. Then, a few years later, the business took yet another turn. We were hired to work on the groundbreaking film, What the Bleep Do We Know? It was life-changing for me, as it was my first introduction to the idea that thoughts create action, and that I actually had a choice as to what I thought. And it started me on the journey for self-actualization that continues to this day. Because of the success of Bleep, over the next few years, my husband got the opportunity to direct other mind, body, spirit movies, including the documentary Dreaming Heaven. That's where I met the dream worker Kelly Sullivan Walden, who mentored me in dream work and is most responsible for my being here to talk to you today. But I'm not the only filmmaker who had life-changing experiences working in this genre. My guest today, humanitarian filmmaker Emmanuel Itier, also made the journey from commercial films to films with a positive message for humanity. And he's here to speak about them now. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Emmanuel.
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's get going.
Okay. Well, Emmanuel, tell me about the first time you got involved with movies that were all about empowerment.
Well, my journey started probably 15 years ago. I was doing, as you said, commercial movies that had not too much meaning. That's when actually I met your husband, working together on a show called Terminal Speed that never saw the light. But in any case, I was a little bit frustrated with myself, not knowing what to do next. And I looked up one day as I was driving to Los Angeles up in the sky and saw to the universe, and I got my answer. And it came to me that I had to do documentaries because documentaries are really a political platform for a filmmaker, political in the sense of politis, which is for the people, for the city. So I thought, hey, all these little thoughts you have in your mind, let's put them, let's structure them, let's put them into a documentary. And the first one, I took really not the simple subject ever. The subject matter was God. So I went all around the world. I went for 4 years looking for God and found some kind of answers to my prayers, because actually the word God comes from a Pan-Germano-Indo-European verb, which means to invoke. So if you think about the notion of God, God is all and all is God. It's really that. It's oneness. It's really the realization that all our molecules are complementary if we choose to be, or in competition if we choose to be. And I think that's the big problem of planet Earth right now is sadly too many people choose to be in competition and not into partnership. Therefore, all the wars, the poverty, the misery. But again, all is God and God is all. So why don't we surrender to each other? Why don't we embrace each other? Why don't we make one? I'm thinking every day, if people had in their frame of mind to wake up and say, hey, how can I be of service to you? What can I do to you, Debbie? It would be a different planet. But most people wake up every day and instead of saying, hey, what can I do to you, Debbie? They say, hey, what can you do for me, Debbie? And that's the problem. It's me, myself, and I, and not me, myself, and we. And that's why we are failing.
And this movie was called The Invocation, correct?
That's called The Invocation, correct.
So when you started out to make this film, did you already have a specific goal in mind, or were you learning about it as you went along?
No, I really learned as I went along. I think in life, you always have, as you said, a dream, a vision for your life, but you improvise most. because you really don't know what the heck you're doing. Nor do you have really necessarily the skill yet, or the education yet, or the tools. So you just, again, you make it happen because you're doing it. So that's a notion of God too. It's like a being because it's making it happening at one step at a time. And that's exactly what I did. One step at a time, one day at a time. I put together this first movie, The Invocation. It took me over 4 years. And then since that, I've done 7 feature documentaries, and I'm about to do my 8th, which is called H2O, The Intelligence of Water. And by pure serendipity, you were talking about What the Bleep. Actually, that movie is made with Will Arndt and his wife, Deidre Head, who did what the Bleep do with us. So it's funny, what goes around comes around. Again, we're all connected. It's pure magic.
Absolutely. Well, one of the themes in Bleep was all about how water carries energy, and how we react to that water changes its energy. So is this film just getting a deeper dive into that concept?
Yeah, pretty much. It's really all about the relationship between water and our mind, our body, the planet. So it's a very spiritual approach, but there is also a little bit of a business approach, a physical approach. So it's going to be very interesting. I think it will surprise a lot of people. And after this one, which will be done by the end of this year, I'm embarking on a major task, which is to study we men. So not you women. They have done that with Femme, Women Healing the World. It's actually a companion movie to the movie about women. This one's going to be about us men. What does it mean to be a man today? And it's called The Growth of Men. And I think it's a very timely movie as well because of what men go through right now. I mean, it's a mess. Look at all the war we are behind, and the act of violence and of despair and the suicide. And 80% of the problem of planet Earth are caused by men. So there is definitely a problem with us. We have to figure it out. We have to fix us.
I think you're right. It's so timely, and more than ever, because wars seem to multiply around us lately. And I have to say, I think if women were in charge, I think we would have a lot less war.
So yes and no. I'm also an anger management specialist. And the problem we are having is that the brain of women and men have changed, meaning that men are becoming much more compassionate and nurturing and sensitive. And the reason is because we are spending more time with our kids, more time with act of love. Women kind of little by little replacing the men, meaning that their brain have changed for the worse. They are becoming more violent. They are becoming more dominant. So if you put them in a position of power today, the result will be the same. Sadly, both men and women right now are in a transformation stage where there is so much violence, so much anger, so much frustration that no matter who is in power, it will be a catastrophe. And it is a catastrophe. You already have a lot of women in key position of power. And nothing is happening, nothing is changing. So for the change to really happen, the brain, the mind, the spirit has to change. And it's going to be a shift, but it's going to take time. And we cannot expect it overnight. I predict that it's going to take at least 5 decades before we got peace in this world. It's impossible. It's a slow process, very slow. But we're coming back from the dark ages. Look at our history of violence on planet Earth. We were born killers, basically. So to turn us into peace lovers, it's a process. It takes time. But it's about being aware. It's about talking about it. It's about addressing the issues and with peace and love, trying to make the transition, the shift.
Do you have a particular audience that you're trying to reach with your films?
Everybody, as soon as you can put some thoughts together, as soon as your brain can analyze that 1 and 1 is 2, and so it's at an early age, you should check out our movies because we were trying to make them very inclusive, very articulate, very accessible. So you see a children a child of 5 years of age, not going to have the same understanding than you and I, obviously. But I feel I've got young kids, 9, 11. I've got two boys who are 9 and 11. And when they watch my movies, they get something. You can tell, it brings some light, it brings some hope, it brings some extra intelligence, education to their brains. So there isn't a specific audience. It's for everybody. I try to really make it for we the people,
Very important. One of your partners in creating some of your films is the actress Sharon Stone. How did you meet her? And tell me about why she's also drawn to these type of films.
Well, Sharon is a true blessing to me because she helped build, in a way, the man I am. She slapped my brain and my butt so many times that it pushed me to be more focused and aware and awakened. So I greatly thank her for this. How did I meet her? It was through a friend initially, who is one of my associate producers, Nathalie Dubois, who used to work with and still working with her on event and special programs. And we were not directly in touch. Through Nathalie, I was in touch with her partner at the time, and I was showing her cuts of the Invocation, the first movie about God, because for some reason in my mind, when I thought about a narrator, the voice of Sharon Stone invaded my mind. So it was very weird because I had met her, I had interviewed her as a journalist a couple of times, but I don't know why the voice of Sharon Stone came in my mind for God. It was interesting. And it was really like obsessive. I couldn't think about anybody else. So I kept tracking her and sending her a cut. And then suddenly she parted ways with her partner. I think there was a fall down with my friend Nathalie way back. We were talking like almost 15 years ago and a bit more. Yeah, 15 years ago. So suddenly I was out of touch with Sharon Stone because we didn't have the WhatsApp and the FaceTime at that time. We're talking in like 2010 or 8, something like this. And to make it short, I went to an event where it was a big debate with a big atheist who had written a book about God is dead or something like this. He was facing a rabbi, David Wolpe, who is in my movie, The Invocation. So I went to that debate, and believe it or not, as I sit down, pretty much at the same time, come and sit down in front of me, totally in front of me, Sharon Stone. So I'm like, this is insane. What the heck is going on? And I look up and I, really, God? Is this a joke? A nice one. So anyway, as soon as she sat down, the debate started. So I couldn't, it wouldn't have been proper to reach out to her. But I waited patiently and at some time with anguish because I had to catch a plane that night to go to Vancouver to interview the Spice Girls the next day. It's ridiculous. And so the debate finished. I'd got like 5 minutes to rush to the airport and catch my plane. And I immediately reached out to her shoulder and she got a little bit surprised and she turned and I said, hey, hi, I'm Emmanuel Itier. And she said, oh, yeah, you're the God guy. You're the guy doing a movie about God. I'm like, yeah. And so she knew who I was. And she gave me her card with a direct cell and email. And from there on, we were at least reconnected. And eventually, within another 3 or 4 months after showing her various cuts, she really said, okay, let's do it. I will do your narration. I want to be your partner. And since that, we've done 4 movies together. So it's been really a blessing. And she even became, along the way, the godmother of my 3 boys. And yeah, thank you, Sharon Stone. I love you.
Well, that's a wonderful way to end this segment, all about love. We're speaking with Emmanuel Itier, all about empowering movies serve humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, it's Debbie. If you like what you're hearing on Dream Power Radio, I've got good news for you. There's more information, more insights, more ways for you to live your dream life on my YouTube channel, The Dream Power Experience. Check out insightful video interviews with some of the leading experts in self-growth and empowerment, plus a few videos where I share my own advice on how to break free from whatever's holding you back. So take a look at the Dream Power Experience on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/@DreamPowerExperience.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're talking all about powerful movies with Emmanuel Itier. Well, Emmanuel, one of the films that you did with Sharon Stone is a movie called The Cure, which also featured people like Mark Wahlberg and Deepak Chopra, among others. So tell me what that one was all about, and why was that one important for you to make?
So The Cure, healing the mind, healing the body, healing the planet. It's all about oneness again, about realizing how to cure everything, and everything, you need everything. So it is a very important movie because it makes you realize that there isn't one cure, that we are the cure altogether. And we are surrounded by cures, by healing powers, whether it's a plant, whether it's a new quantum physics approach. So it's an important movie. And to realize that really until we understand that we are one with the environment, and therefore we are where we live, we are what we eat. So it's very important to understand that everything is complementary. And, you are talking about people in position of power, whether they are men and women. It's a problem that we have with all these leaders. They are not healthy in their mind. They have no healthy body. They eat crap. They don't exercise, and they live in a toxic environment. So how can you expect them to be conscious leaders, to be effective? They can't. They are victim of their own programming. And that's a thing. It's a choice. You have to choose to be focused. You have to choose to self-heal, and then you can do some healing. Then you can do some leading. But right now, I don't see any conscious leaders, and that's why we are failing. That's why we have war. Look at the crisis in the Middle East. It's about this government wanted to take more and more land from Palestine, and a terror group trying to take hostage its population and want to annihilate all the Jews. So it's wrong from both sides. It's enough. Seize the fire and start loving instead of keep the hate going. It makes no sense. And keep wanting more land, more money, more greed, me. Enough.
Have you had any idea if any of your films have reached people in leadership position, whether they're leaders of country or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually Sharon who said when we finished vacation, Barack Obama was president of the US, and we sent it to the White House, and it was seen. So yeah, a lot of people, I try to give it to them directly if I can meet them, or through friends. Now, did they really watch it? Did they get something? I have no idea, but I see the result. There is no impact so far from my movies in key position leaders. Leadership is failing us right now. We are at war, and that's ridiculous. There is no reason for war. There is no reason for poverty, for misery. We have plenty of resources. We have all the water in the world, all the money in the world, all the brains and the genius in the world. What we don't have is a real united body of leaders working together. It's like they are mafias. Look at them. Stupidly fighting every day, stupidly waking up every day and say, hey, how can I bomb them more? How can I kill them more? How can I take them in hostage more? Again, it's a frame of mind. So it's not going to change overnight, but we have to replace all these people little by little. We conscious people need to run for office, whether it's mayor, Congress, president. I formed my own political party 2 years ago, and I ran for president of France. I failed, but you need to get involved. You need to act. You cannot just speak and have little nice shows like we have with you right now, Debbie. That's one step, one positive step, but you need to take action. And for that, the only thing you can do is run for office, whatever your office is. It's your church, it's your school board, I don't care. Get involved. Move out of your couch, stop whining, stop bitching, and become peace in action, which were the great words that Sharon Stone had found to conclude our movie, The Invocation. become peace in action.
Very well said. Although I do have to say, though, in addition to that, I think a lot of people are intimidated or fearful of taking that kind of involvement because they don't believe in themselves enough. And like one of the missions of this show, one of the missions of like your movies is to help the individual person realize that they have that power within themselves and that all they have to do is to take that step and take action. In dream work, we always say, when you have a dream that gives you a message, it doesn't mean anything unless you take action on it. And it's the same thing with this. You're right. You have to take action whatever way you can. I'm going to run for office yourself. You say political action. If you're not going to run for office yourself, then work for the person who supports your ideas and get them elected.
Yeah, it's all about having faith. And it's the irony of our civilization. We are forced, almost preached by all the religion and spiritual movement to believe we have faith. And faith, by the way, comes from pagan Roman verb, which is fidere, which means to trust. So it's ironic because on one side, we are forced to have faith, blind faith, just believe in God, shut up and believe, shut up and believe. And that's a problem. No, don't shut up and believe. Believe and speak. So have faith, have trust within yourself and other, and then speak out, act out. So it's a change of frame of mind from being a silent partner to become an active partner. And that's really important. And I think it's going to happen by little, and because of shows like yours or movies like mine or Sharon Stone being involved more and more with different programs. I mean, like last week, she was in Saudi Arabia. How courageous is that to go there and speak to a country where, as we know, it's a little bit sketchy in terms of human rights and women's rights and gay rights and so on. So yeah, you have to have faith. And she has faith. I have faith. We trust ourselves. We are strong people, and we're going to give power and strength to all the people who have it, but it's been locked because they were told, believe and shut up. No, believe and act. Now I free your mind. I free your being. Just become peace in action.
Very, very well said. I want to go back just to ask you a little question about the mechanics of filmmaking. I mentioned before you had people like Deepak Chopra and, of course, Sharon Stone is in your movie. Other people in your films have been, if not people who are household names, people who are experts in their particular field. Is it difficult to get them to be in your movie? How did that work out?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like having Sharon Stone. I mean, it's little miracles. I call them my little miracles. I remember, bless his soul, because he passed last year, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He's a Nobel Peace Prize. He was a partner of Mandela to free South Africa from apartheid. And I wanted him in the movie because he was such a great religious leader, spiritual leader. So I reached out to his team, and it took me almost a year before I landed in Cape Town in South Africa and before I landed in his office. And even when I went and knocked at the door of his office in a suburb of Cape Town, he opened the door and he said, "Who are you?" "I'm Emmanuel Itier. We're having an interview for my movie." It's like, "What? I don't know anything about it, but please welcome and let's have a cup of tea and talk about it." So it was insane because I had spent tons of money to get to him. I thought we had an interview set up, and I arrived and showed up, and the interview wasn't secure, obviously. He only got secure after half an hour of having tea with him and making him realize that hopefully he would want to be part of his movie, which he ended up being part of it. So it's been very difficult. The Deepak Chopra was a miracle, again, from my friend Nathalie Dubois. She knew him or knew his assistant. And really, I called and I got very surprised that he said yes. I not only said yes once for the invocation, but he said yes 3 times because he is also in the cure and with the people. So it's not easy, Sometimes it takes years to get some of these people, and sometimes you don't get them. a certain time, you get them, and for some reason, they change their mind and you have to remove them from the cut. So it's bizarre, and at the end, you have to surrender to the process. You do as good as you can. And again, you have to have faith, trust that it's going to work, trust the universe. And indeed, the universe has faith in you.
Well, so far we've talked about movies that you have directed and produced that were dealt with subject matters that you wanted to do. But there's one movie I believe you were hired to direct on, which is called Shamanic Trackers, which is about the Q'ero shamans in Peru. And this one is particularly interesting to me because I was on a similar journey in 2010 when I went down there to help a woman who eventually did make a movie about the shamans, which was, again, another one of those eye-opening experiences for me. So what was it like for you?
Oh man, that was crazy, that experience, I forgot the altitude, but we could barely breathe. We were in this little village made of rocks, no grass, barely any air. My cameraman, Claude Budin, you told that I was so many beautiful shots. I got sick. It was crazy. And it was another awakening, to surrendering to this hostile environment and being one, spending time with the Q'eros and their tribe. It was fantastic, and going to see the Machu Picchu, which is such a legendary, mysterious place. Fantastic. I mean, again, my journey has been so amazing because it has transformed me one cell at a time entirely. And 15 years ago, when I embarked at doing all these humanitarian documentaries, and now I'm definitely not the same man. I want to believe I'm a better man. I want to believe I'm much less selfish and much less about me, myself, and I, and more about we the people. So I thank everybody that I met along the way, including that lady who hired me to go to Peru. That was a fantastic experience.
Well, Emmanuel, I just have one final question for you, which is how can people find out more about you and your films?
It's very easy. You just type my name on Google, Emmanuel Itier, Itier, and you get to me. One way or another, we are all connected. It's all about oneness. So have faith, reach out to me. I'm always there to help people, given whatever little bit of my wiseness and guidance. And I'm here for you, people. I love you.
Well, we love you too. And thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Thank you. Bless you.
Hey, we've been speaking all about films that are meant to empower and enrich our lives with humanitarian director Emmanuel Itier. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Till next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio.